So this one fat loss hack is actually exactly what my wife used to be able to lose 40 pounds. And if you've struggled to actually get the body that you want, this is actually the fastest way to be able to get there. But here's the thing is, without it, every time you try to reach your goal, you most likely will fail. But the good news is that you're here now, so everything's gonna look different. So my wife actually reached her heaviest point after baby number 4, and she was incredibly discouraged. But the cool part was that I knew exactly where we were going because we had actually done a ton of work leading up to that to make this fat loss process very easy, very simple for her to get back to where she was. But what truly was actually amazing is that my wife lost all the weight and is now healthier after 4 babies than she was after her first.
Yeah.
But it's all actually because of something called identity versus outcomes. So what am I talking about? This actually comes from a book called Atomic Habits. It's by the author James Clear. So if you haven't read it, I would highly recommend checking it out, because tucked in this book is this fascinating principle that applies massively, not just to building regular habits, but actually to building your health and fitness. So in this book, James actually details how you're gonna go about trying to implement habits to get them to stick so that you can achieve certain outcomes. So the big thing that we have to look at is my trusty Sharpie. We're gonna look at starting with this big circle. Forgive my terrible handwriting, called outcomes. Hopefully that's legible right there. Outcomes. That's what this big circle is. So we've got our outcomes. This is the weight that you're trying to lose, the weight on the scale, the number. You're trying to lose 40 pounds. You've got a specific goal out there that you're trying to achieve. That's the result, right? A lot of times, typically everyone is going to start with the outcome in mind. However, we've got to keep going a few layers deep to actually figure out what's going to make this stick. Because if you start with your outcome, you're not going to end up reaching the outcome, because you've got to start with what's underneath that. What is that, you might ask? That's actually something called, so that's actually the next layer deep, and we're going to call that processes. That's the habits, that's the actions that you're taking that are going to lead to those outcomes. So you've got your processes that lead to the outcomes. So that's eating different, that's working out, that's sleeping better. There's all these things that are going to add up to create the outcome that you're looking for. Typically, people are gonna think that's what actually gets you there. But here's the fascinating thing, is that there's one layer deeper that we actually need to go, and this is actually where my wife started, that allowed her to actually achieve this weight loss that now she has sustained for years. So that is the next circle, another layer deep. My circle's not very circly, my ugly little circle. Again, forgive my handwriting, but this is the center. This is the layers, the deepest layer. The layest? I don't know. This is the deepest layer. It's your identity. It's who you are. Who is the type of, I'm saying who? Have you seen that movie? Why am I saying what way?
I just don't get why you're saying it that way.
Why I'm saying what way?
Forget it.
I will forget it.
So this is actually the deepest part and the layer that we actually need to start with. So if you think about someone who wants to quit smoking, so what's the outcome? The outcome obviously is quitting smoking. They don't want to smoke anymore. They want to be done with that. They want to be throwing cigarettes away. That's the outcome. How do you achieve the habits that are going to lead to that outcome? I mean, the habits are essentially, it's finding other things to do at those moments when you would typically smoke. It's finding other hobbies. And I think a lot of people used to like chew sunflower seeds. Is that still a thing? I'm not really sure. So it's finding things to replace those old habits and implementing new habits that will prevent you from actually going down that road so that you can reach the outcome of no longer being a smoker. But therein lies the key, is who is the type of person that doesn't smoke? You need to start with your identity. You need to start with your identity. To get the outcome of someone who doesn't smoke, you have the identity of someone who doesn't smoke. So instead of I'm a smoker and I'm trying to quit, now your identity is I'm not a smoker. So what does a non-smoker do? What are the things that a non-smoker does? When you get into those situations, now you're going to be able to more easily implement the habits that lead to the outcome of not smoking. So bring it back to fitness. My wife started with this idea of I am a healthy person. I am someone who works out, who trains. I am someone who cares about their body. Even if she didn't feel that yet, But when she starts from there, now every situation in her life that she can approach, she's gonna look at it and say, what would someone who is healthy do in this situation? Operating in that mindset, putting on the identity of someone who is lean, strong, cares about their physique, cares about caring for their body. Now a person who cares about these things would get better sleep, would not eat that, maybe eat this instead, or get into the home gym and do a little bit of a workout. But once you have your identity in place, you then actually might be wondering, well, what are the exact steps that I need to follow? And in this video, I actually lay out the 5 simple steps that you need to actually skyrocket your fat loss. And as always, go get strong, but first just go give your kids a hug, because I think family matters more, and I'll see you over there on the next video.